Every time I come here after the singing, I can just go home and I've had enough for today. But then adding the LTC stuff, that was wonderful. I haven't laughed like that in a minute. I remember these kids when they were just a little bitty when I left, and now they're all grown up and doing great stuff. Congratulations. Every time somebody asks me where Stephenville is on the map, I tell them exactly, like, where is it on the map, right? I always tell them this is a cowboy capital of the world. Do you know where that is? And people still don't know what it is. And then I tell them, because I still remember the signs, it's the city of champions. And you guys proved it again recently, right, in football. And you keep doing that in all kinds of sports. They still don't know where it is. But when I was thinking about preparing a message, I was thinking about preparing a message for champions, the city of champions. And so that's who I'm thinking about. I had to change my whole sermon days before coming here because, I don't know, what I had before was good, but there were a lot of other things I wanted to say to this congregation. Recently, I made a friend. He's going through some things, and he says, Jacob, you're really good. Like you do a lot of stuff for the community. You could be doing anything. You could be working for a company, making lots of money. You could start your own company like you've done in the past. And why are you doing what you're doing? And I said, that's a good question. Really hard to answer with just one conversation. And that's what got me thinking about the message today. Why do I do what I do? Which brings another question that I've been asked again and again when I go to different places to speak. It's like, Jacob, you always talk about how a regular Christian can do so many things for God. Can a regular Christian really make a difference in God's kingdom? Can a regular Christian really make a difference in the community? Well, I'm going to be spending some time in the book of Numbers, chapter 16. We have a story here about people talking bad about Moses' leadership. And you can click on the next slide. People are complaining about Moses' leadership. And it almost seems like anywhere you go, there's going to be someone that complains. Who in here knows someone that complains a lot? Okay. And if you don't, then that's probably you. Okay. I'm kidding. So people complain a lot about Moses' leadership. And it would do you good to go home and read Numbers chapter 16. There's a lot of story there. There's a lot of motifs. There's a lot of contents that we can extract from here. But people are complaining. And God all of a sudden is done with them. They're like, hold back, Moses. Stay away from these people. I'm done. These people are about to get what they deserve. And God's hand starts moving across the camp. And people start falling dead before God. One after another, one body after another. And death is coming through. And Moses yells at Aaron. And he says, Aaron, do something. People are dying. And that's where I'm going to spend some time there. There's urgency. Something that moves Aaron to do something about what's developing before him. 14,700 people died before this incident stopped. Aaron was at the edge of urgency. When you see urgency, it calls you to do something. You can't just stand still and do nothing about what's happening in front of you. So, to answer someone's question about what I do, why do I do what I do? I answer with I'm at the front edge of the urgency, and it calls me to do something. Some some statistics that I came across back 2013 was about Latinos um, in Spanish churches. So we know that Spanish language churches exist, but at the same time, we know that those churches don't thrive for very long, and there's many reasons to that. Sometimes it is because of the language and the culture. So in a regular American congregation, 5 teens out of 10 will not go to church after they graduate high school. That's a big number and very concerning number. But in a Latino context, a Spanish language context, 7 out of 10 teenagers will not go back to church after high school. And one of the reasons why, it's because of language. So if a young person grows in a Spanish language church, after they graduate, they won't go back to a Spanish language church because it's no longer the language that they speak or understand. And so they will not go to a Spanish language church because they don't understand the message. But they won't go to an all-English church because it's not their culture. And so the risk increases if you add a language factor and a culture factor of teenagers losing their faith. More than that, this statistic talked about me and people that I grew up with. I grew up with hundreds of teenagers when I would go to the Spanish area wides, and then I got to a certain age where I was like, where are all these kids? Where are all the friends that I used to have, and they're not in church anymore? And this sense of urgency started calling me to do something about it, and I didn't know quite what to do. And I'm able to do that in Oklahoma City. I'm able to help bridge cultures and languages in a church that's multicultural. You can go to the next slide. When I first moved to Oklahoma City, I was at a congregation that was monocultural, and I was telling the Bible class that in order to do our pitch about raising funds for what we're doing, we would go to the internet and pull up a picture of a multicultural crowd, and use this picture to say, hey, this is what our vision is. But now on every Sunday, any corner of the room that you point your camera to, you can take a picture of multicultural congregation. People that are blended, Latino, white, black, we're all together worshiping God under one roof. Living in the urgency makes you do something about what you're seeing. That is why I can answer the phone call of someone from Tijuana, Mexico, calling me through Facebook and saying, my daughter is in Oklahoma City and she is being abused by her husband. She's been injured. Can you please go help her? I'm not a cop. I'm not licensed to do half of the work that I do, but I show up at the front steps of this house and help this young lady find some adequate help and housing. Because I live in the urgency, I can help a family that is going through a lot because the husband decided to use illegal substances, and it's on the verge of hurting his family. I'm able to help people regardless of their immigration status. I can show up at the front steps of a wife that is pregnant with a toddler in arms and help her through some legal processes after her husband has been deported back to Guatemala. It is the urgency that calls me to do what I do. Regardless of what your position is under this administration, This tells us that there's a lot of brokenness, a lot of people hurting that are in urgent need, and there's only church people that can help. There's very few people willing to help sometimes. So this is why I moved to Oklahoma City to work in a congregation in a multicultural context. So back to the story, Moses yells at Aaron, "Aaron, do something. People are dying." And the story takes turn, and you can go to the next slide. One more, please. Verse 48 says that, it says this, that Aaron stood between the dead and the living, and the plague stopped. Moses yells at Aaron, "Go take fire from the altar, fire from the Lord, and bring it and stand where the people are dying." And Aaron did that. Aaron ran, picked up a rod. It's a brass rod that has a cup at the end of it. Sometimes it could be up to 3 cups. And he goes, scrapes fire. He might have hurt his hand scraping up the fire and putting it in the cups. We don't know, but he hurried, put it in there, and he brought the fire and stood where people were dying. The urgency calls him to do something crazy. He doesn't know if he's about to lose his life himself, but he stands between the line of those who are dying and those who are still alive. Now, Aaron is not the most spiritual guy in the Old Testament. He has some problems of his own. If you know Aaron's story, you'll know he has a lot of deficiencies. Aaron's not the biggest character in the Old Testament, and Genesis even. But he's the one that showed up and stood in the line of the dead and the living. Aaron was the one that took the fire from the Lord and stood in front of the line of the dead and the living. It wasn't a group of people. It wasn't a whole congregation. It wasn't a committee. It was one guy. One guy. I still remember, I have so many stories to share that I don't think I'm going to have the time to share all of it. But I remember the first time that we were going to do a Graham Street garage sale. And Sandy, beautiful lady, she came to me and she says, "Jacob, I think we're going to do a garage sale. And all the items that we have here at Basic Needs that are not selling, or the good items, we're going to set them apart, and then we're just going to do a big sale." And I think that time was in the fall. And we're going to use those funds to fund some of the things that we need for basic needs. And I said, "Sandy, oh, that's a great idea." In my head, I was thinking, this is not going to work. And I told her, "But let's try and figure other ways to fund basic needs, or find what basic needs needs, because who's going to buy all this trash, right?" Not only that, but I was one of the people that would help move things. Everybody else was ladies, and I grew up, ladies should not move anything heavy. It's the guys that need to do the heavy lifting, and I didn't have enough friends to help with some of these big items. And I told Sandy, I was like, let's kick that to next year. And she could tell that I was not really excited about doing a garage sale. And some time passed by, and it flew over my radar, but the time came when all the things were in the family center, and they were setting up for a garage sale. And I came to the family center, and I said, "What is all this?" If you've ever been a part of the garage sale, it is crazy the first few days. There's stuff everywhere. There's stuff in boxes. There's stuff that needs to be sorted. And I said, "Sandy, what happened?" And she said, "Well, we moved all the stuff from the container to here, and we're going to have the garage sale anyway." She did it without my help. Praise God for women of faith, right? They will get things done even when guys don't step up and do the work. Don't ever get in the way of a woman with an agenda, a godly agenda. You'll just end up getting in the way. Sandy and the Basic Needs crew did what needed to be done to help the community that they serve. They did that. Every day they got up with a mission. Every week they worked with the mission to help those who are in need. One of the things that just gets me all the time, especially about my generation, is the wording. I'm waiting on the Lord to call me to do something. I'm waiting on God to show me a sign about what I'm supposed to do for Him. I'm like, really? Come on, man. Like, you're really waiting on heavens to open up and show you what you need to do for God? Man, take a pic. My Spanish gets in the way sometimes. Take your pick. There's so many needs in our community, and people are not tending to those needs. You don't need a sign from God. You just need to choose what you're going to be doing for God and get after it. We need people to run to the places of need. We need people to fill the needs that they see. You want a calling from God? Well, if you see a need today that you can fill, that's your calling for today. And keep doing that every day. And you'll find out what God is wanting you to do with the rest of your life as a Christian. I'm going to skip over some things, but I just want to say this, that do you know how old Aaron was when this scene happened? Aaron was 100 years old. Aaron is 100 years old, and another guy that was just as old as him, Moses, yells at him, "Aaron, go do something." Have you ever seen a 100-year-old man run? Some of you are like, I can't even run, right? You have a 100-year-old man running, getting fire from the altar, and then running back from the altar and standing between the line of the dead and the living. A 100-year-old person. You'd be surprised what you can physically do for God in the front when you face urgency, when you face the need. You're going to go beyond your own capabilities. You'd be empowered to do things you thought you could never do for the love of those who are dying. He was 100 years old. And Aaron's the guy that said, yes, I can feel that need today. Aaron said, yes, I will run to the altar. He didn't say, let those that are younger do the work for me. He didn't say, here's some money, young guy. Go run to the altar and bring me back some fire from the Lord. He chose to do it himself. Aaron is that guy. He might not be the most spiritual. He might not be the most gifted. Aaron probably did not know what to say to the people that were dying or the people that were losing family members. He was not trained, but he was the guy that said, yes, I'll do that. I will go get fire from the Lord and bring it and stop death. So I have a few pictures here. The first one is last. You're gonna have to forgive me if I cry. Last Christmas that I spent here in Stephenville, and I'm with the whole Collier clan, and most of you guys know who they are. But it was Hubert that brought me to Stephenville, and what that man saw in me, I have no idea. I have no idea what he saw in me because I was not a college graduate. Um, he had not seen me teach or preach or do a lesson, but he said, "Come and help us in Stephenville." And I did. And I spent almost 8 years of my life here in Stephenville, Texas, with this beautiful church family. If you ask me, can an ordinary Christian change the life of somebody else and make a kingdom impact? I will show you this picture. And then I have one more picture. These are ordinary people that came into my life. I still remember the first meeting. Deborah Swanson was there. The Bradburys were there. Harry and Charlie. There was a group of people that were doing just that, helping the community. They were in the fringe of the dead and the living. They were in front of the urgency, and they woke up every day with the mission. Can ordinary people make a kingdom impact? Here's a few more faces of ordinary people that made amazing impacts for this community and my life. And then soon after, everyone else in this congregation became vital in my life and my spiritual walk. From Denise, Linda, different families, the Joneses, so many hours spent together, the Divins, the Fewbachers, so many people in this congregation that did that, make an impact in my life. And I'm able to make an impact on somebody else's life in Oklahoma because I know I have a church family here in Stephenville. This is my home, guys. This is my church family. I hate to be away from you, but there's a sense of urgency calling me in Oklahoma City, calling me to Latino communities where I help. I continue to work with bilingual camps. I continue to work with National Preachers Conference and youth camps to shape the lives of those who are just like me, living between the hyphen of being Latino and American, and finding their place in the kingdom of God. Aaron's not the most spiritual guy. He's not the greatest in the Old Testament, but he was willing to run to the urgency. People keep telling me, Jacob, you could be doing many other things. You could be in business, you could work for a company, but I'm here to tell you guys, I'm still not done. I will continue to preach where I need to preach. I will continue to run to the urgency where I'm needed. And I need your prayers to continue doing that work, to continue working in a bilingual, multicultural context. So can an ordinary Christian make a huge impact for God's church? Well, brother, well, sister, go out there and find out. Feel a need today. Continue to do that. Continue waking up with a mission of helping a soul today. And you will make an impact in this community and any community where you go live. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving my family. I love you guys.
Let's stand and sing together.